business news, and the UK will cut tariffs on imports from 65 developing countries, including a large number of African nations. Goods not widely produced in Britain, such as textiles, shoes, and some agriculture products, will benefit from the reduction. But the news comes amid reports the UK is on the cusp of freezing all non-essential foreign aid as the nation grapples with a cost of living crisis and a looming recession. Well, joining me to discuss this rather important story and the other business news of the day is Arise business correspondent Laurie Laird, who's in London. Good to see you, Laurie. The UK to cut import tariffs on many African goods. How will this affect African exporters?
It's a very good question, Charles, and I wish I could give you a more complete answer. On the surface of it, we don't have a great deal of detail on this plan, but on the surface of it, it doesn't look that this is going to help African exporters all that much. And the reason is that a lot of developing countries in Africa already benefit from a reduction. 99% of the imports from Africa into the UK and the EU, by the way, are already tariff-free. So whether this will make much of a difference on top of that is a little bit in question. The government has not produced all that much detail about precisely which products will be affected. The one example that the government literature is giving is cucumbers, because cucumbers are not produced in the winter in the UK, and they're a bit of a UK staple, as you very well know. So cucumbers that are coming in from African nations in the winter will be subject to zero tariffs. They're not subject to particularly great tariffs at the moment. So while this is a good thing without a doubt, whether it will make a difference outside of the margin is still an open question.
Meanwhile, of course, Laurie, reports claim that the UK foreign aid budget, which has been severely cut already, is now going to be largely frozen.
Absolutely. And Charles, if you'll forgive me just a little bit of cynicism here, we don't have a confirmation on that, on the fact that the foreign aid budget will be frozen, but it's coming from a number of trusted UK sources who are quoting Foreign Office sources, officials in the Foreign Office, saying that all but humanitarian aid will be cut. Any requests of over £1 million UK pounds will not be granted. And I started by saying, please forgive my cynicism, but it does strike me that the news that foreign development aid budgets will be cut, or disbursements will be cut, balancing that with a little bit of a boost for trade for developing nations. It seems like these announcements are almost balancing each other out. And again, I hate to be a cynic here, but this is really a very striking piece of news. And the government sources are saying, look, we really are only going to concentrate on humanitarian aid, such as what we're giving to Ukraine. So it really sounds as though everyone else is going to miss out. Now, the sources are also saying that this is a short-term development, that whoever takes office in September after the Conservative leadership battle may be free to change things. But remember, this Conservative government was the government that cut the foreign aid budget from 0.7% of GDP to 0.5% of GDP. So there's not a lot of optimism that whoever becomes the next prime minister will be in a great hurry to resume disbursements, humanitarian disbursements to developing nations.
And Laurie, in the context of all of that, the cutting of import tariffs, the freezing of the foreign aid budget, I mean, what's the latest on the UK economy? You had some crucial employment data out earlier, I understand.
That's right. And this employment data is really rather mixed. It shows that the jobs market is still pretty hot. The economy added 160,000 jobs in the 3 months to June. That's a little bit more than people were asking or expecting. The unemployment rate went up a little bit, but remains at 3.8%, which is very close to a 40-year low. That does suggest a fairly tight jobs market. The number of vacancies fell for the first time in almost a year. And I think crucially, this is the number that the government will be looking at, the Bank of England, the central bank will be looking at, is that once adjusted for inflation, wages fell by 3 6%. That's the biggest fall on record. And I think that is the number that will focus minds. And it does suggest that this cost of living crisis that we have discussed over the past couple of months is biting even harder. And I think that the government will be very aware, if we go back to the earlier story, will be very aware that that people in the UK who are suffering, who can't pay their heating bills, will be critical of any excessive foreign aid support.
Well, let's move away from the British Isles onto the European mainland, Laurie. News out a bit earlier, Germany apparently embracing nuclear power.
This is a big story, Charles, just out over the past couple of hours. And you'll remember after the Fukushima nuclear disaster, Angela Merkel, then the chancellor of Germany, put a moratorium on no nuclear power plants in Germany. And she planned on closing the three functioning plants at the end of this year. Big U-turn. Germany is not going to close that plant. Haven't had confirmation from Chancellor Scholz's office, but we're getting this from a number of government sources. They believe that these plants are safe. And furthermore, Germany is paying so much. The European country most reliant on Russian gas is going to have to come up with a way to keep the lights on come winter. So these three functioning nuclear plants will remain open past the end of December. This is a big U-turn from a German government.
And Laurie, moving across the pond to the US, signs that consumer sentiment is holding up pretty well.
When we talk about the U.S. economy, Charles, we go from boom to bust in a matter of weeks. Wasn't long ago that we were talking about the prospect that the U.S. economy may be in recession, but we got results today from two of the biggest retailers. Walmart is one of them. In fact, the biggest retailer in the world. Home Depot, another one. Both of them came out with much, much better than expected results. Let's look at Walmart first. Walmart really surprised the market with two profit warnings since May, saying they overstocked. They were having to discount a lot of stock to get rid of it. Walmart's quarterly results, or results to the 3 months to July, out earlier today. And apparently July was a red hot month for Walmart. Their results were very, very good. That July making up for weakness in the previous 2 months. They say consumer sentiment remains extremely strong, and that August is off to a very good start. Home Depot, also a big retailer, which is concentrated on DIY stuff of timber, paints, that kind of thing, reporting record profits and record revenues. So that consumer spending in the U.S. seems to be alive and well, at least for the moment.
Thank you so much, Laurie, for that comprehensive analysis there. Laurie Laird is Arise business correspondent, and he was talking to me from London.